Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. I want to chat for a couple of minutes about families and about reproductive rights. I know that the prior conversation was more about families than reproductive rights, but I think they sort of go together. And I'm compelled to talk about this because of the debate that lots of us probably saw on Tuesday night in the United States between the vice president candidates, and reproductive rights became really quite a big issue, and the idea of whether it was a constitutional right or something that the Supreme Court effectively put in place, and or whether democracy meant that you should have states' rights decide, and different states could have different rights. I really think that, and I don't want to preach to the United States, I want to think about Canada, but I want to learn from the United States. I think that something like reproductive rights should be a national human right. And I think that therefore, we should really give some thought to this topic. And I do think it is divisive. And lots of people say, well, the courts have effectively decided that abortion is legal and that it's a decision between the mother and the doctor. But we don't have a constitutional right, and we haven't got a law that actually has been passed to codify it. It's just because of comparable to Roe v. Wade that we have Supreme Court decisions that have effectively made it that way. And I also, frankly, am thinking about, and it's died down of late, but there has been, quite a big fervor in the United States about gay marriage, about transvestites, about drag races, drag shows, etc. And I think that also is similarly a right that has been effectively created by the Supreme Court, but not codified in our Constitution or our Supreme Court. I mean, in our government by way of a law. And I think it should. And I think that this comes to, frankly, this idea of families and defining what families are all about. I think that this attitude that if you're childless, you're less of a family, or if you're single, you're not a family, though you can still have a family via your parents, your sisters, your brothers, your friends, etc. And lots of divorced people. What is it? 50% of the people in Canada get divorced, and it goes up if you've had one divorce. The probability of a second marriage surviving is even lower. So I think that we have to have an attitude toward families that gives more freedom to people to decide what is right. And I think that we should have a constitutional right for gay marriage. I think that we should be more accepting of people that identify as a different sex or as no sex. I think that we need to, as Pierre Elliott Trudeau said, get the state out of the bedrooms of the nation. I don't think that's where they belong. And I think that, particularly the right talks often about freedom. I think that we've got too much lack of freedom in sexual and reproductive situations. Let's talk about reproductive rights for a second. I think most people would have difficulty of late-term abortions, but also I think a lot of people would have a great deal of difficulty telling someone what's right for them. I had a couple of people tell me that they watched these two middle-aged guys on TV on Tuesday night talking for a long period of time about women's bodies and telling women what they thought was right for women. I don't think that's right. And the idea that doctors are afraid to do what they've done in the past, which is in the best interest of the mother, because they're scared of being charged with murder, that they're scared of losing their license, that they're scared of going to jail, I think is completely absurd. I do think that, and this fact that maternal health has gone down dramatically, and maternal morbidity has gone up, and it is rivaling, third world countries in the United States, is disgusting. And I think we therefore need to think about codifying in our Constitution the right for people to make decisions of their own body. And while I might not personally choose, because of whatever reason, to ever want to have an abortion, that should be my choice. I shouldn't be forced to have an abortion. I've got a great friend, the unbeatable Tracy, Schmidt, who was born with no arms and no legs. And she said that, if more people had the attitude of aborting everybody, particularly if they had an ultrasound that showed up or an MRI that showed up that the baby was deformed, she would never have come to be. She would have been aborted. And her parents obviously chose to give birth to her, and she ended up having an incredible life with no arms and no legs. A four-limb quadriplegic, as defined, though she never lost them. She just never had them. And so it goes both ways. If you don't want to have an abortion, you should not have anyone forcing you to have an abortion, or even frankly strongly telling you to have an abortion. They can provide you the advice, but it's your decision in the end. And I also think that it's the mother's decision in consultation with her doctor. I don't think the man hopefully is consulted, but I think that the mother should be making the decision. It's her body. And I strongly believe that, there is this bright line test. Before conception, the baby doesn't exist. I don't think that we charge males with murder when the semen is not planted in the ovary. So before conception, there is no life. There's the potential of life, but there is no life. And clearly after birth, there is a child, and there is life. Where that life comes to be between conception and birth is something that people can debate. And I don't think we'll ever have a definitive point of view. Some people say it's when the fetus can survive on itself. Some people say it's when the fetus, grows arms and legs. Some people say it's the second that there's one multiplication of the embryo. I don't know, and I don't think that should be a debate that I have a point of view on for other people. I can have that point of view for myself, but I don't think I should have that point of view for other people, or at least I shouldn't be able to enforce my point of view on other people. And so while I find distasteful the idea of a late term or a third trimester abortion, that's my own opinion. And I think that we should have freedom codified in our Constitution that gives females, mothers, the right, in consultation with their doctor, hopefully in consultation with the father, to decide what's the right thing. And when you hear these stories of rape, of incest, of sexual abuse, of whatever it is, miscarriages, people bleeding to death in hospital parking lots, this is not modern society. I think we have to think about what freedom really means. And freedom should mean that people have got the right to decide what they do in their bedroom and what they do with their own bodies. And I think those things should be codified in our Constitution, not just something that a couple of judges decided and that even 50 years later could be overturned, which I think is completely wrong. So I think that Canada has an opportunity to show the world, to show America what's the right thing to do here. And we should have this conversation. We shouldn't shy away from the conversation, even if it's potentially divisive. We should stand tall and decide what we think is a basic human right. We should let history judge us by being the kind, the human rights oriented, the family oriented, because I believe what I'm saying is really truly family right oriented and human right oriented. I have some people very close to me that have lived together, a man and a man, for a long period of time, and they never got married. And they've got a wonderful relationship. And we went to 2 different weddings with them this summer. I wish they would get married. I think it'd be wonderful. They should have every right to get married. And it shouldn't be just because the Supreme Court said it was okay. It should be because we collectively, the population of Canada, say it's okay. I know people, people that may have had an abortion or not had an abortion and feel bad about it and question it. I think we should make it clear it's their choice. And society doesn't have anything to say about the freedom of their choice. They have the freedom to make the choice, whatever's right for them at the time. Anyway, a couple thoughts after our conversation tonight about freedom and about families and about reproductive health. Thanks for joining me. Good night, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you about some of these issues. Good night.